when you're going through things, right, you think that it's peculiar to you. There was a story of someone that took his own life last year, and a lot of people were surprised because the person had like apparently a happy lifestyle, so to speak, from what people see them that they post. But a friend of mine that is so close to me shared some of her experiences in 2024 with me last year, and I was so surprised. She said she was emotionally and mentally down to the point that she actually considered ending it. Like, it crossed her mind to end it, and I was like, what? So many years ago, more like centuries ago, there was a man who was born lame. And by lame, I mean he couldn't walk, right? From birth, he had never been able to walk. And he used to sit at this gate, this beautiful gate. And one day, um, one man, was walking past the gate. The gate, the gate, it was the gate of the temple is called Beautiful, right? This man was walking past the gate, and then he saw this man that was born lame, and he said to him, "Silver or gold I have none, but in the name of Jesus, walk, rise up and walk." And that was the day the man received his deliverance. Remember, I had mentioned that in our last episode, if you had watched it, that this season, our episodes will be um, grouped in seasons. And for this season, the title is called Get Beautiful. Welcome back to our YouTube channel. My name is Ayo, and I anchor the Millennial Chronicles, where we talk about everything that pertains to life and godliness. If you've watched the previous episode, you'll know that I've spoken about our reintroduction. So, Get Beautiful. My interpretation as inspired by the Holy Spirit of Get Beautiful means a few things to me. But for our particular podcast, for this season, while it is titled Get Beautiful, in that story that I just mentioned, or that I just told us, right? It was Peter that healed the man that was born lame, right? And he said to him that he should rise up and walk. It was a defining moment in the man's life. He had not walked since he was born, but until that point when Peter asked him to rise up and walk, that he received his deliverance. Which means that for some of us, we might have been dreaming and we might have stopped dreaming. We might have been drained. We might have tried and lived for a lot of, like, tried to do so many things. And at that point, we get exhausted. But there's going to be a moment, right, where you begin to receive healing financially, mentally, spiritually, right? In many areas, thought processes that are no longer healthy for the journey in front of you, right? Relationships that are no longer good for you, habits, lifestyles that are no longer edifying where you're heading towards, right? Amongst many other things. So this is what this season, all the episodes in this season, we're talking about healings in diverse forms, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, in your relationships, in different ways, right? And you would really enjoy it. So for today's episode, we'll be talking about a very interesting conversation. All right. So, I had talked about in my previous episode, I talked about one of the things that happened to me in 2025 about getting tired, and, I just lost interest in a lot of things. It's very possible to get drained. By the way, the story that I told for people that might want to go and read further about it is from the book of Acts, chapter 3. You can just do a further study on that. So there are a lot of things that can actually get you to be drained. Sometimes you're tired, you don't even know what to do again. But I mean, one of the things that's interesting, a friend of mine told me a story. I thought that, when you're going through things, right, you think that it's peculiar to you until there was a story of someone that um trying to find a safe word due to YouTube's policy, took his own life last year. And a lot of people were surprised because the person had, like, apparently a happy lifestyle, so to speak, from what people see them that they post. Maybe people that are closely knitted would have suspected otherwise. But a friend of mine that is so close to me shared some of her experiences um, in 2024 with me last year, and I was so surprised. Like, she said she was emotionally and mentally down to the point that she actually considered ending it. Like, it crossed her mind to end it. And I was like, what? I would never have thought. And, we had that conversation extensively. And it also made me think that so this kind of thing happens to people at different points. While some people are not thinking of ending it, they are thinking of extremes. Like, oh, maybe if I walk away, maybe things will get better. Maybe I'm the problem in this person's life, so maybe if I leave, it will get better. Or maybe if I just hide myself from the old world, if I just run away from everything, do you get, like, maybe it will get better. Like, if I stop coming out, sometimes you have responsibilities, right? But you stop showing up and you think that it's going to get better. And one of the interesting things about that is that you get to a point where you're actually tired, but something else is foiling that tiredness. Something else is playing. When I'm trying to find a good analogy. You're obviously tired, but the enemy is capitalizing on that tiredness to begin to raise other emotions, other feelings of anxiety, of anger, of sadness, of depression, in such a way that those are now the major feelings. Those are the major, yeah, feelings. That's the right word, that are around you. That's all you're feeling. That's all you're thinking. That's all you can ever think. But if you remember the Bible verse that talks about at the saint of water, there's always hope again. There's always hope again. And one of the most interesting Bible characters that I like to reference to is Samson. Hmm. I mean, even Samson, I'm sure, had lost hope. Many people around him had lost hope. But there was just that one last trial of go again. I remember during our retreat, my husband was talking about the story of Moses, right? And the children of Israelites. That the difference between the story of Moses, the life of Moses, his character, his person, and the difference between the life of the attitude and the character of the children of Israelites is that one was born and raised as a king, while the others were, they've always been in slavery. For Moses, he grew up as a king's child, as the king's daughter's child, right? He was raised, even though she wasn't his biological mom, but he was raised in the palace. So there's a way he was thinking of things from the place of kinship, right? And for the children of Israelites, they've always, many of them did not grow up in the palace. They were just common men. But unfortunately, because they were living in Egypt, they grew up as slaves. And so for every time they approached things, it's from that position of lack, that position of that mentality of slavery. They exactly didn't know, like, they were always afraid, they were not bold enough to take steps. And the enemy constantly capitalizes on that. So I'm just trying to make an analogy to the point that yes, you might actually feel genuinely tired, but those emotions are further amplified by the enemy and making it like the priority, like, oh, that's all your life is all about. But you know what? We can always dream and go again. If someone had told me that I'm going to be sitting here and recording or like doing my YouTube again, I would have said no. And one of the things I learned from my friend's story was that after all that she went through in 2024, and she thought of, you know what, I think I want to end it or something like that, right? She she decided that for 2025, she wasn't going to write down any goal. She was going to be intentional about living, but she's not going to be writing down any goal whatsoever, right? She was going to just focus on living. And she said that what surprised her the most was that 2025 was the year that she achieved the most. She didn't write down any goal, but it was the year she achieved the most for herself in her academics, in her career, spiritually, in every area of her life. And it wasn't because she didn't write any goal. Let me point that out. So I'm not saying that don't write goals. That if you don't write goals, it means that you achieve more. No. But it was because after she had gone through that phase of being drained and tired and emotionally stressed, she eventually came to a place of rest. You know, there's a way you will go through seasons that you will know that if I don't rest, like rest not sleeping, or like rest like pouring out your burden to God, knowing that at this junction of my life, I'm just pouring everything to you and letting you like take total control. So she came to that place of surrender. Yeah, I think that's the word, and rest. Like she wasn't going to struggle with anxiety anymore. She wasn't going to struggle with her own incapabilities or her own shortcomings or trying to fight the idea of things that she didn't do well or things that she could have done better or situations that she could have controlled, even situations that were not within her control, but she was blaming herself for it. She was done feeling all those feelings, if I can say it that way. And she was now finally in a place where she was just resting. So the moment you rest, all right, at that point, you're telling God that, okay, God, I'm handing everything over to you and I'm now ready. And I'm now ready for you to direct this ship. Now steer us in the direction to go, and then we'll go. And I believe that we do more when we approach everything in life from a place of rest. The moment you're anxious, there's something about anxiety that I think that what makes us anxious is because we have this idea, this mentality that everything starts and ends with us. That is, for this thing to be successful, it 100% depends on me. And I think that that might be a faulty mentality to go through life with, right? While I need to play my part as a responsible person and even as a responsible believer, right? I also need to be very much aware that 100% of the success does not rest on me, that there is God who also plays his own part. So it is my own effort plus his that gives us a total and a beautiful result. The moment you put off that pressure, you take that pressure off you, you realize that you're approaching from a place of rest, knowing that, okay, I'm going to play my part, but God is also going to play his part. And so you're just moving in that rest. The moment you're not resting, you're not letting go of your need to be in total control, you're going to have feelings of anxiety. You're going to start having feelings of regrets, feelings of what I can do better, what I didn't do better. You're going to start, feeling tired and exhausted because the moment you're anxious and you cannot control the situation, the feeling, exhaustion comes in, and that's where you can have other feelings like people are getting depressed, they are tired and exhausted, right? And so I've said all of this with all the stories and examples to say that healing comes from rest. Healing looks like rest. Healing is rest. The first phase of healing is rest, and rest is first surrendering. And for you to surrender, you need to have acknowledged first that this is beyond me, right? Even if it's something within my control, it's okay to know that I didn't do it right this time, or I failed, and that's very okay, right? So you first acknowledge your own shortcomings. You acknowledge that everything does not depend on you. Yes, I have my part to play, but God has a major role to play as well. And so when you acknowledge your own shortcomings, when you acknowledge that, you're able to now, rest. And then when you rest, you start to heal. And then that's where hope comes from. So if you're feeling drained in this season, if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling like you didn't do what you're supposed to do, or you wrote down the goals of 2025 and didn't achieve them, you've brought them forward to 2026, like our friends in finance to say balance brought forward, you know, or whatever it is, whatever it is, whatever it is, whatever it is, I just want you to know that a saint of water, there is hope, right? And it starts from rest. There is healing and it starts from surrender. Right. So I hope that this episode has actually blessed you. Beyond blessing you, I hope that you actually found a word that you can go through whatever season you're in, from this particular episode. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, it will be nice to always read from you in the comment section what you think, experiences, stories, that you have, just so that we know that we are on this journey together. See you next